Good evening, TFA world, wherever you may be in the world. Good evening, good afternoon, late afternoon, perhaps. A very good evening from me, Geordie Pete from Hollywood Balls, and of course, George from the Football App. Now, before we start and I introduce my next guest, George, I have to say I've got to give a very special thank you to our family at the Football App for the welcome that I've had. I feel like I've been a part of TFA now for just under a month. With some fantastic shows under our belt already, but I've got to give them a very special mention because they've really taken me as their own, and for that I am extremely grateful.
Yeah, you're part of the family. You know, it's a great family to be part of. I'm honoured to be part of that family, and I'm delighted you feel the same, Pete.
Okay, without further ado and without much more backslapping, I'm going to introduce our next guest. And what I've been so excited about all day, as has George, because George has been texting me saying, really excited about tonight. Please welcome, big TFA welcome to Syombua Kibue, the founder of African Women in Football chapter. Welcome to Hollywood Balls with TFA.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. It's such an honor.
Well, it's our honor.
The honor is ours. Listen, we're crazy about women football and we're crazy about African football. So put those two together, we're in dreamland here.
Yes, now I see that.
Yeah.
It's honestly, Syombua, it's what we've been looking forward to all day. So I think for all of us, I speak for all of us when I can't wait to get into this. So if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are in the world, and we'll go from there.
All right, great. As introduced, my name is Syombua Kibue, and I'm in the beautiful country of Kenya.
Awesome.
We have an amazing football culture down here, and it's one of the best things that I love because it gave me a home, it gave me something that I really love about, and gave me a career in football. I come from an organization. This is the Domino's Sports Network Africa, where we have Domino's Sports Academy. You can see my t-shirt. And Domino's started in Uganda and then came to Kenya and made Kenya its home. And our whole entire passion is being able to teach boys and girls how to play this beautiful game, how to love this beautiful game, to be able to nurture this beautiful as much as we love it. And it's been such an incredible journey, and I cannot wait for the future and see what it got.
I've got to say, looking at the website, it's absolutely amazing. Now, what it does do very clearly is it shows that the different characteristics of Domino's Sports in the fact that there are so many different entities and entities which are very clear. As you just said, you know, there's the young boys element, there's the young girls element.
The young girls element.
And they're all chapters.
There's the coaches, right? Yes, and we've got the coaches element as well.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, your role within that, because I look across the board, and what I love is the fact is the chapters. But there's a certain chapter or area that you are responsible for that you're really pushing at the moment, right?
Yes. I am actually part of the organization. I was given the go-ahead to start the Africa Women in Sports chapter, which is basically us being able to push our agenda of having more African girls join football. We have so many programs in our organizations that focus on girls, but we still have that African mentality that girls are not really supposed to be for football. So we are here to say, listen, we have great programs. They can play all the way to pro. They can even go to university on scholarships, and this is what we want to offer them.
Is that the goal?
I'm sorry.
Sorry, George. No, just before you dive in, George, is that the end goal? Is either an education or professional football?
With football, as what I've come to realize is that it is so dynamic that even if you don't go to the education level or you go to the pro level, you can be a coach, you can be a manager, you can own your football club at some point. So the fact that we are able to provide this to our girls and actually show them that there's a lifetime career in football is what we are pushing. You can learn football from as young as 4 years and make it your thing for the rest of your life, because there's no retirement age basically, depending on depending on which category that you decide to do or which path you decide to take.
Wow. Yeah. George, go for it.
I mean, what's interesting is that, you know, normally we were talking before the show started, I spent more than 20 years in America, okay?
All right.
And I was still playing football there until my, one of the few things, typically America learns about football from Europe, from Latin America, from Africa.
Yeah.
One thing North America, meaning the United States and Canada, that the world has learned from is the women's game.
Mm-hmm.
America and Canada perhaps are the leading countries for women's football, and it's an interesting dynamic. Now we are seeing a much more higher level of investment in the women's game in Europe and in Africa. So yes. I'm just wondering, with that great movement, with that great momentum now in the women's game, it must be very exciting for young African ladies, right?
Oh,
to be
amazing.
Involved in the game. The motivation, much. Yeah.
Yes, I'm in management, and I'm one of the people who's screaming at the top of my lungs with the excitement that is actually bringing to it's bringing to Africa, because finally we get to see someone like me playing football, and it's football on a professional level. We're looking at Premier League level where we have girls playing football, and it's mind blowing. Because I remember the very first time I watched a female game, it was here in Kenya, and there was a competition of where we had the girls team playing. I was drawn. I was like, I forgot I was there with my team, and I just sat down and I watched these girls playing, and I'm like, this is what I want to promote. This is what I want to push. Everyone needs to see this.
Yeah, and you know, you always relate your personal stories to this, okay?
Yes.
When I first moved to America, I was a much younger boy than I am now, okay? So we used to play every Sunday morning, kind of a pickup team, you know, a whole bunch of, okay? And my kids, you know, later in life started playing football there, you know. So we played a game with the parents, and I'll never forget this. This is 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So then the women's game wasn't, you know, maybe if not 20 years ago, 18 years ago. So I'll never remember a mother of one of the kids we were playing with, just the adults, the parents. It was her and her husband. And she said to me, you come on my side, let him go on the other side. And I thought, okay. So
yeah,
she was amazing. I mean, amazing. Ever since that game, I followed women's football. I mean, she was not only better than her husband, she was better than me and her husband put together, right? but you've got to understand, this is like 18 years ago, right, Pete? I mean, it's a different world 18 years ago. And I've seen the game in America blossom. And now I watch women's games in Europe, in Africa sometimes, and the standard is incredible. And you can see it's a real ecosystem of itself. And it provides a lot of inspiration, I imagine, for African young girls, right?
Yes, it does. It does. Because for the longest haul, football was not really our game. But now being able to say, yes, this is it. This is what I want to do. I want to play football. And being able to tell them, you know what? You can actually play football, and here are the platforms for it. So if you start and you work your way up and you learn the program, you learn the game, you work with our system as we are teaching you, you will definitely be somewhere, and we will guarantee that. They're always like, yes, sign me up.
I think as well, we were just saying before we went on air, you know, a collective global message from women in football like yourself is what's required, and it will push It will push the global game. As I was just saying to you, that if, for instance, over here in the UK, with Sky Sports probably being one of the biggest operators of global television for the Premier League, that now they are going to be showing the Women's Premier League. It's a major step forward. And together with
I'm so excited.
Exactly. And together with voices like yours, it can only continue to propel the game, the women's game, to where it should be, right?
Yes. We actually do have the potential to even be better than the men, just saying.
Hey, no argument from George and myself on that. And I go back to, a lot of sport. And George, a point that you made there about the football in America, I'll take with golf. Now, if you look at golf between ladies and gents, the ladies are technically better, and it's a similar aspect with football. But I've got to ask you, I've got to say, what age and where does your love of football come from?
My love for football goes way back. I think the first major game I ever saw, I believe I was either 15 or 16 years, and my dad and his brothers were watching, I think it was Manchester United versus Arsenal. And there was this rave that was happening. So I went and sat down somewhere, and I watched this game, and I was like, oh my God, what is happening? So I kept asking questions. And from that day on, I was like, I like this game.
Hooked.
This is really interesting. I was hooked. And people kept talking about how football is like a cult or a culture in things. And I was like, nah, but before long, I was the one watching the games. I was giving the stats. I was like, no, this player needs to go.
Brilliant.
And everyone in the house was like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be female, remember? And I'm like, no, I like this game and I want it.
Good.
So
our question, I'm going to get back to you, but our questions are flying in. We will get to you with your questions. We will get to you. Carry on. Sorry, I just wanted to let the guys know, because we've got a big audience tonight.
Oh wow, that's really amazing. I was saying a couple of years ago when I got the opportunity to join Dominers, which actually was very, I would say, very impromptu, because it was just a sport of like, could you help me with this project? And I was like, yeah, I like football, so I'll be happy to do it. And from that day on, I just told them, wow, I'm in. What do I need to do? Can I join the organization? What do I have to do? And I have grown tremendously from there.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Speaking of growth, it's a good time for a good question from Andy P, who asks, what were the challenges that you faced or facing indeed, trying to push women's football in Africa? It's a very good question, Andy.
Oh, that's a really, really good question. I feel just very few challenges, and mostly one is really consistency, because again, in Africa, football for girls is not really that famous. So trying to convince parents that our girls can play football usually requires me telling the parents, you need to come to the pitch and you need to watch them play. For them to go like, whoa, I did not know my daughter can play like that. So it's like, what do I need to do? Yes. So most of the time that has been it. A second challenge is we don't have that many football teams that have girls, so getting them the challenges to be able to play. But the best part is for the last 2 or 3 years, football teams in Kenya for ladies have been growing. So it's very easy to be able to see now that when they're sending flyers to register for various challenges, you can see boys and girls teams being registered. And that for me is always the highlight. I always have to go and check, like, does he have girls? I'm like, yes, he has girls teams.
but you see today it's maybe easier for African girls to play football than it was just a couple of years ago, right?
Yes, definitely.
Which are the leading African countries for women's football, would you say? Kenya, Nigeria?
Right now, definitely Kenya. South Africa is great as well.
Yeah.
Nigeria is on the list. Egypt has an amazing female team as well. Yes. Yeah.
It's incredible. And how not talking end goals, because I mean, I'm sure that this will continue, and it will continue. This academy will continue long after we all retire, and it will go on and on and on. That's the dream. And what would be fantastic, is it a dream to maybe see some young proteges come back who've made it in a professional game, come back to Kenya and say, this is where it all started?
I would be so happy. In fact, for me, the fact that I'll be able to say some of my players as in different leagues, and when they retire, I'm always like, you better come home. You better come back to Dominus and show people where you came from and tell them this is where I started, because that's great motivation for anyone, even for the boys, being able to see that this is the academy that got me from A to B to C, and I can always come home and it'll always be my home. That's for us. That will be heaven for us.
Are any of the Kenyan footballing icons on the men's side, like Victor Wanyama, for example? Mm-hmm. He's a national hero, right?
Yes.
Wanyama, right?
Yes.
Do players like that get involved somehow with women's football in Kenya?
Not sure, but probably yes. When they do visit the country, when they're off, they do have a tendency of coming to visit different teams. And most of the teams, we have the two sets, where it's the boys and the girls as well. And they do get to interact with them. So yeah, they do.
Okay, very interesting.
Vitally important. I'm gonna go back to talk about the actual group as a whole, because as I say, I find it fascinating that Dominus is what it is, and it's a whole group. But what, in your opinion, what makes it so innovative that all of these areas come together to form what you have? It's a fantastic gathering of a great group of people. What's the secret ingredient to it?
Passion. Every single person who's come on board to the team has passion for the game, has passion to see it grow, and we are all bringing in our different dynamics and our different educational backgrounds, our different cultural backgrounds, and when we meet in one meeting, you should be there. It's always an explosion of ideas. Everyone, we are always like, this is what we can do to grow. I was watching South Africa the other day. They're doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we able to talk to South Africa and see how is it that Kenya can come on board on this same program? And so we are always looking for new ways to grow and to nurture, because football is not stagnant. It grows every day. Education is every day. You always have to keep upgrading your skills per second. And so that's what has made it so amazing for us, because even for me personally, that I can be able to do a class with FIFA today, then I can go and do a class with PFSA, and I would be so excited, I'd still be excited doing the same class, because it's always like such a challenging experience, and football is just amazing.
It sounds as though you've got, obviously you've got a heck of a job, because there's aspects of classroom, there's training, there's on the pitch. Do you, and I know you're probably going to say all of them, but is there a part of the day or a part of the class that you really stands out for you, that's your favorite part? Is it maybe, is it in the classroom, or is it getting out pitch side and seeing what the kids have to offer?
For me, it's actually not. It's a combination of both, because when you see what they learn on the classroom, because football has to go with the technical skills, and there's that one fragment of moment where you see them on the game, and they do exactly what they learned in the classroom. I'm always screaming. I'm like, I know you saw that. I know you did. And once the game is over, they goes like, did you see what I did? That's what we learned last week. And I'm like, I saw it and I noticed and I know. So it's so amazing to be able to see how they take something from class, take it to the field and learn what to do, and then put it in practice in the game. It's such a surreal experience to see.
And do you think that's the biggest joy from their side as well? It sounds like it when they're coming back to tell you, look, that was what I learned last week, and this is what has happened this week on the pitch. It makes it all worthwhile for them as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, because then they're able to understand that the work you put in, the education you put in, the time you put in pays off eventually. So it's like you'll be able to learn what we're teaching you, and then you'll be able to put it in practice during training. And at some point during the game, you'll realize that this is a skill that you need. And you're going to use it, and you're either going to score or have a great pass. And you will feel that fulfillment of, oh my God, this is what I learned. And it is so amazing when you see that. And even for them, they're so excited.
Yeah, of course. I tell you what would make them more excited. And I've got to ask, do you think there's a possibility with this network and this group whereby that wherever in Africa, but obviously being based in Kenya, it would happen there first, that some of the international scouts or might come and have a look and just see if tomorrow's stars are within the academy?
I talk to them all the time on LinkedIn. And it's odd that a lot of people can't travel at the moment because of the situation.
Sure.
But I'm constantly being asked, how's the academy going? What's the progress? As I have some few players who are currently playing for EPL, and they go like, you haven't updated a video in a few days. And I'm like, wait, you're paying attention? And they're like, yes, we watch. Could you please have you guys not been training? And I'm like, we've been training. I've just been a bit lazy to upload the videos, but give me a moment, they'll be up in a bit. So it's like, and I always keep telling them, wait, you guys need to see this. Like, he asked about you guys. He asked about the players. And they're always like, whoa, are you sure? Are you sure? And
then that drives them on as well, right?
Yes, because of course they're famous names and these are people that they watch. So when I show them a LinkedIn conversation of me being harassed as to why I didn't put training videos, they also start going like, why did you put the training videos up? What are you doing? And I was like, you have to give me a moment. So it's like, they're always so excited. And one thing that we always do, especially now during our current situation, is we always have to keep having Zoom meetings with the players. So that way we always have to insist that we have to have a guest. So we always have a guest come through who can speak to them, who can tell them. You can always know like it's different coaches, different scouts from different parts of the country. So they're always excited because they know like we are doing something for them and they can actually look for a future with the organization.
As I say, we're proving extremely popular this evening, so we're going to try and get in a couple of questions. I just want to, before I do fire in a couple for you, we've been, this is a new series for us, and we've been talking about football in Africa and what it can achieve. What I've noticed as a pattern, and I'm going to ask you the same, is, of course, we want to encourage the next star of football, but how important is studying and education alongside learning the game as well for the young kids? Because education is everything, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And we personally deal with a grassroots team. And this is the ages between 4 and 18. And these are people who are still in school. And we always have to remind them, you need that education. Without the education, you're not able to read, you're not able to study the game in class. So you do need that background. And not only that, you need to be able to have a backup plan, Right. Yes, education is key. You have to learn, you have to have, and we always have to push for good grades. As like, it's a standard for our team. You better get good grades. If a teacher calls me and tells me that you're failing in class, oh, you're about to be on punishment for a moment.
I don't think I would fancy that.
But does the football aspect drive positivity, if you like, for this studying? Are they more motivated, right? Yeah.
Actually, you can actually tell that if a student is pulled out of normal training or games to study, then you can find that their education actually kind of just, it's like they're no longer psyched up. But when they're actually training and they know they have to be in class and they know they have to keep up with the class in order for them to get to be able to get to certain levels, they will do the work. They will get the A's because they know if I don't get A here, I'm not playing a game here. So it always pushes them and it always gives them that motivation.
That would have worked for me, I think. Another great question is, and we sort of touched on it, but Patrick's asking, what do you think has to happen with women's football in Africa for it to be treated equally to the male game? What's your opinion?
I think the mentality just has to shift to actually seeing women's football as something quite competitive, because Africa has really focused so much on the men's football, but hasn't given in much when it comes to the girls. And so just being able to be able to switch that mentality that, well, girls are able to do this and you're actually going to enjoy watching a game or them playing it's just mentality. Everything else is set. The games are set, the ladies are there. It's just a switch to be able to see, yes, the girls can do it too.
In Dominus is not just Kenya, right? Dominus is an African.
Kenya and Uganda. Yeah, Kenya and Uganda. But yes, but we have partners all over Africa.
So just in Kenya, how many women footballers of all ages does Dominus touch? 100, 500, 1,000? Give me a sense of that.
I think for as young as Africa Women in Sports, we've actually touched at least 100 ladies. And this is from the girls and the ladies and also for the senior team as well. We have the curiosity of being able to, wait, you guys are able to do this? You guys are training? And the questions always come, I am constantly answering questions every single day. The better part of my day is always on, wait, so how can we join? What can we do? What do we need to do? And I could easily answer 50 to 100 questions on a day. And we always tell them, just come to the field and be able to see what we can do, have a feel of the game. If you need me to talk to your parents, I'm always the lady to do that. Because again, I realize that a friendly female face is always such a welcoming experience, especially for the parents.
I've got to ask you about that. What's your relationship like with the parents? I mean, I'm imagining football is a global thing, and I'm sure it's the same for everyone. They all want the best for their child,
for their kids.
How's your relationship with the parents?
I've built a great relationship with the parents because one of the things that I did when I started the organization was I didn't just wake up and go into management position. First, I came into the academy position because I wanted to learn and study the organization from the grassroots up. And one of the things that I had to do was create a great rapport with the parents, because this was the only way they will be able to trust me enough to allow me to do what we need, to allow us and the organization to do what we need to do. And on a daily basis, I'm always talking to parents, I'm always sending in information, we're always doing updates with the parents in regards to training and what they need to do, changing of uniforms, which games we have. And so I think for where I've reached right now, parents are so comfortable. So they're always like, wait, is Syombua going to this game? And they're like, yes, Syombua is around and she will go. So it's like, okay, how many kids do you need? And sometimes I'm usually not there because I have to be in class. And they'll be like, okay, so who's there? And I'm always like, my team is amazing. Everyone's we have great female coaches who are also trusted with the team and the parents. So even if I step down to go for a class, the coaches are always up, like Coach Diana is there, and the parents are usually, all right, we're good.
So they're comfortable with that. Now, the resounding message that we're getting from all of our TFA family is one of that football brings joy to many. And our TFA, George's partner, Steve, it's lovely that Steve is joining us this evening and watching the show, is saying that, we want to be able to do our best to bring football to the women of Africa. So it's a lot of positivity coming in.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
I mean, you know, if you don't mind me saying this, Pete,
Yeah,
maybe we should introduce Syombua to the app, right? Because
exactly.
you know we have a lot of followers in Africa.
Yeah,
We have some followers in Kenya too, and
Oh,
all the
wow.
girls can use the app and they can create their own community all
True.
around their football teams in the app, right?
yeah.
Yes.
So that could be a good way of bringing more young ladies and women into
Yes.
the game,
Because
right?
we need girls to be able to have confidence enough and actually
Exactly.
feel that this is home and
Yeah.
football is and can kind of feel our excitement with the game.
Well, look, I will give you a statistic. We have this huge growing population of tens of thousands, more than hundreds of thousands of users in our app. 51% are women.
Female. Yes,
Yeah.
because we love
51%,
football.
right? But
We love
this is
football.
the thing, and yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing.
It is fantastic, and I mean, I could talk to you all evening, and I think I've got a couple of fun elements that we were going to ask you about. But before we get on to those, what do you see as the next step for you guys? Obviously, we're living in a world which is a little different, and we're all taking steps differently around the globe to deal with that. But in an ideal world for you, you know, what is the next step, and what's the next bit where you say, yes, that's that bit ticked off the box?
For me, I would definitely would love to see an African Premier League.
Right.
Yes, one that we love different Premier Leagues from different parts of the continent and different parts of the world, and to be able to bring now our very own from Africa and be able to say Dominus is part of the top 12 of the Africa Premier League, that would be team 100, I think, on my list. I can retire after that.
Mic drop.
Because yes, we're done. And to be able to see both, not only just the men, but also an African Premier League for the girls, I was like, wait, I did that? All right, I can retire smiling. But
Amazing.
I would love to see that. I would love to see East Africa Premier League, and that's the East African countries coming together to be able to compete and also have the girls teams and the boys teams, because there's just something about seeing girls play football that just draws your attention in. There's just a love for it, and I always find myself grabbing a seat and just sitting down, and someone has to come and remind me, young lady, your team is on that side. And I'm always like, just give me a moment. I need to watch the girls play. Like, can you see them play? They play so beautifully.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. Beautiful. Yeah.
It is, and as I say, you've proved extremely popular. You know, I say it every week, and I'll say it again, George. They're not here for us; they're here to see our guests, and you're really proving popular. So, one of my favorite things is we always end with two really nice questions. I've got to ask you who your favorite player is. Who's your favorite football player? And it can be current or it can be in the past.
My current football player actually comes from Kenya.
Okay.
And she's Vivian Corazon. She just signed with Atletico Madrid, which is, yes,
Yeah.
The girls'
It's a big
team.
signing. Yeah.
It's a major signing. And that's a major signing, not only just for her, but also for Kenya and for girls as well. Because like she's just proven that, yes, you can go far with football and you can go to levels of playing with Atletico Madrid in play. That's mind blowing.
That's the dream, and she's a role model and an ambassador to say, kids, you know what? If you study hard in the classroom and you study hard on the pitch, here's what you can have. This
is where we are looking at. Yes.
Okay,
and you
so
can have a full career and it's flourishing.
Of course. And now, following on from that, favorite player, favorite team. Who's your favorite team? Got to ask you that.
Well, for day one, it has always been Manchester United. But for the last couple of year, for a couple of weeks in class, one of the things my lecturer is very happy to say is, please put all your love teams aside, because when it comes to scouting, you cannot have love for one team, it will be biased. So I've been trying really hard to let go.
That's very difficult. Very difficult,
It's
right?
difficult. It's difficult.
Very difficult. Yeah.
But if you're on a day off, you're on
I'm watching the game. I have all the jerseys, team jerseys. I am always on. Hey.
You're watching the game. Absolutely fantastic.
Let's just hope he's not watching right now.
Well,
so when is the Women's World Cup? It's in 2 years' time, right?
Yes, it's in 2 years' time. Yes.
Right?
Yes, and I'm actually really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think America is still the favourite. You know, I always like it when the favourites don't win. You know, I like the underdog.
You should support my team then, George.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Who do you think has a chance of winning the World Cup? I know it's 2 years away.
I can't really tell right now, because we really do have some great teams. As we've seen in the last couple of few years, nowadays football is anybody's game. As like there's an underdog team that just come and sweep the floor with everyone. So you never really know who's going to take it, but I'm looking forward to be able to watch, because I know some of the underdog teams will definitely be coming through, and I can wait. I hope I get to see a few African teams, because I will be there screaming.
I think South Africa has got, I don't know that they may win it, but they got a good chance. But I will tell you this though, the Women's World Cup in 2023, I think it is,
will be fire.
It will be the most watched Women's World Cup ever. There'll be billions of people watching it. That's a great feeling, right? That's a great feeling.
Amazing. That's all we are working for. That's all we are working towards. To be able for people to actually realize, whoa, you can watch this game and you can enjoy it, and this is it. The girls are here and we are dominating. Yeah,
that's fantastic. That's awesome. That's great.
Now, if there's parents watching, or if there's brothers and sisters with young sisters watching, how can the guys from Kenya, or anywhere else for that matter in Africa, what can they do to find out what you're doing? How can they visit your website?
Our website is dominosports.org, dominosports.org. We have a central location, and that's in Parklands in Nairobi. That's the High Ridge Primary School. That's our main football field and our focus when it comes to school, because we've been able to work with the students of the school as well, and the area and the community that is Westlands and Gara. So we have had such great reception there, and we've been able to build a home. And so anyone who is in Nairobi and wants to come and just see our trainings, we are at High Ridge Primary School most of every Saturday, and during holidays, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, we are always there.
Absolutely fantastic. George, just in closing, give us a few words, because what I would love to do is get you back on the show real soon and chat to you some more, and keep us updated about what's happening and what's going on.
Pete, I would think it would be a great idea to have another show, invite this wonderful, wonderful person, right, Syombua, on back, get maybe Sunday.
No, that's no problem.
As well. And I think we can do a lot of things. And look, it's called the beautiful game for many reasons, right? The biggest reason is because it brings people together. And you've seen over the last 10, 15 years a coming together and recognition of the women's game. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Africa as a whole has an amazing football culture. That's like, if you find us in one stadium, you will, the electricity, it's contagious. Like being able to just see that and see everybody there, is the screams, the noise, everybody is arguing about their teams, who's going to win. It's a very electric feeling, and being able to see that,
It's fantastic. I mean, I must say, I would love it. I would just love it if an African country won the Women's World Cup. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
I think I would be banned off social media. I will definitely crash every single platform.
Well,
that's a guarantee.
We would help you. I've got to say before we do depart, you can catch myself and George again tomorrow on Soccer Saturday over on Geordie Pete Redding's YouTube channel. George, I'm so excited about tomorrow. We've got a director of a football club from Scotland joining us. For our TFA family, please subscribe to both channels on YouTube. That's the football app and also mine, Geordie Pete Redding. Tomorrow is Saturday, which is 11 a.m. UK, which is also 1 p.m. Cyprus time. So if you can join us then. So all it leaves me to do is give a massive, massive thank you. Syombua Kibue, thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Good pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.